All right, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. The long-awaited episode 3. Part of the reason this took me so long was because the original shop here was just getting too small for all the space I had to work with the car and everything. So I built an addition. This is a 37-foot by 25-foot addition with 11.5-foot ceilings, so I can fit a lift in here eventually. I gotta organize all my junk and start working on this. But the MX5 project has come along swimmingly. I'm back working on it. Also built a jig table. This is a weld table. Plans were online, and I can link that in the description, fellow YouTuber. So built this guy, laser cut top, 5/8 inch steel with 4-inch hole spacing, and got all the welders in the background there. Still organizing that. This jig table I chose 4-inch spacing over like 2 or 6-inch because I was specifically stretching the front subframe on this car 4 inches. So I made a jig and laid the subframe on the table, and then chopped it in half and used tubing, which you'll see in here. I have the subframe back in the car. Tubing to extend the subframe, so the back mounting points are still matched up with the unibody. The front half of the subframe, all the suspension and everything has moved forward. Steering rack has moved forward all 4 inches. Now that left me with a conundrum. My rear mounts for my lower A-arms. There used to be 2 tabs in here. I'm gonna point in here. Used to be 2 tabs back here where this mounted to. I laser cut new tabs and did all this on the frame jig table as well. So that way all the bolts here going through these all line up. All the alignment should be exactly the same as from the factory. And that is all clamped down in the jig table. Now I have to work on the upper frame, the unibody. This is all gonna get boxed in. All 4 points here are gonna get boxed that were cut. The unibody frame is actually sitting here. Just took everything off of it, and it's kind of just in the wind for now. I might use some of it. I'm gonna pull the geometry off those shock towers in there and probably fabricate some new ones. I was originally gonna reuse this, but I think with all the turbo plumbing and all the custom stuff that we're gonna do with the V8 engine, probably just better to tube frame it out, and I have the material and the knowledge to do it. So it's time. This guy's gonna get mocked up pretty soon. This is the aluminum block 5.3 LC9 engine out of a 2011 Tahoe. The LC9s are a 4th generation LS. They have notoriously strong internals, and that's been built with ring gap and modifications for trunnion. It's got a stage 2 turbo cam. These headers will likely not be the ones I'll use. They're just some I had sitting around. But they will be a compact header because we don't have very much room for the turbos. I do think that the turbos are probably gonna land somewhere in this region on both sides, where I've kind of cleared out some room by stretching that subframe. These guys are pretty beefy. Let's take a look at those. These are from VS Racing out of Houston. They are a nice little mirror image turbo package they have, really well priced, really reliable. A lot of people are running these. I got the dual V-band, or all V-band all the way around. Inlet, outlet, everything. It just makes maintenance and assembly and disassembly easier. And if you've ever put together a turbo car, you know that you're gonna have the motor in and out and the turbos in and out probably a dozen times before you get it all the way you like. So turbos are gonna sit somewhere around this area. I don't know how orientation wise. I'll get closer as I fab up, motor mounts and things like that. And I'll figure out down pipes and charge pipes, but they'll probably sit around there somewhere. If they don't fit there, they can go up by the shock towers maybe, or maybe up front in front of the motor. We've got some room up here Twin turbos could sit up there like a drag car, which it is going to be a street strip car. So that should work pretty good. I'm thinking, I know when Flying Miata did the swap on these, without the frame stretch, they only added 100 pounds to the front end of the car. Now that I've stretched the frame 4 inches in the front and pushed the rear wheels back 2 inches, the 50-50 weight balance should be almost perfect like the factory Miata. Even with that extra 100 or 200 pounds I'm going to add into this, because the front wheels relative to the engine position are going to be so much more forward on the car. The hood, front fenders, front bumper, all moving forward with the front suspension. A lot of people ask me about that. This gap here, it will exist, but there'll be CNC aluminum or formed aluminum vent here. We can get some of the heat out from the turbos. That'll be both sides, and then there'll be a vent at the top of the hood too. That might be carbon fiber or maybe aluminum, something like that. I'll skin something up or make a mold. Got some new 3D printing capabilities now that I can print really nice surface finishes in really large sizes as well. So that might get printed and made out of carbon fiber from a mold. So we'll see about that. Lines are a mess right now. Everything's all over the place just from pulling the 4-cylinder out. You can see the ND1 engine, the 4-cylinder that came out, it's here with its original transmission, 6-speed. This is for sale. Also, I can put a link down in the description in case you're in the DFW area and you're looking for an ND1 motor and transmission that's in good condition. So we won't be reusing it. The only part I'll be reusing likely is the ECU and maybe the AC compressor. That's about it. I don't think I have need for just about everything else on here. Water pump, alternator, I'm gonna use GM stuff. I'll probably end up with a Craig Davies water pump on that LS, and that alternator is just a baby. It might be good, but I've got a higher output unit over here. So the 5-lug conversion with these wheels, I'm really looking forward to trying everything out there. I have test fit the brake calipers, the Willwoods. There are a Willwood 6-piston here. These are originally from the NC. We talked about those in the previous episode. They all fit nice and snug. Everything's good. I'll probably end up doing some brake bias proportioning valve to balance out front and rear. And really looking forward to getting this thing back under its own weight in the next week or two, I think. So that's the bulk of it. There's a lot of detail work that's going to come up in other episodes. I've been talking with Armin Hendricks. He runs AR Hendricks out of Houston. It's a Miata-based shop. They do a lot of Mazda stuff, and they do other vehicles too, but I believe I'm going to have them do the wiring because they've already done one LS swap ND wiring setup, so it'll retain all the factory functions most likely. The only thing that it doesn't retain is the skid protection. It still retains ABS, but it won't do skid control, I think, with the way the LS and the Mazda ECUs have to talk to each other. But AC, ABS, all that factory gauges, that'll all work. Cruise control, I'll probably figure out that. The goal is to have this car as feature-rich as possible without adding any weight and have a nice, robust V8 in there. Have my cake and eat it too, basically. So it's a true street strip car that has all the amenities for a long road trip or going out to the track or running to get groceries, whatever I want to do with it. So, and the one difference with the frame stretch too, from the other ND LS swaps, all the other NDs use a GM hydraulic steering rack, and they have to because the pulleys on the LS will hit the steering rack if they use the factory ND Mazda one like this. Now with the frame stretch, the pulleys will clear the steering rack. So it's one less electrical concern to translate, switch, modify. That should be pretty much plug and play. Once the engine's in and communicating, We shouldn't have any steering rack related issues with ABS modules throwing a fit or anything like that. So that's where we're sitting. I got a ton of wiring and a ton of little plastic nuts and bezels and pieces and junk I gotta go put all back together, figure out what gets thrown out, figure out what gets modified. But it's coming together and it's looking pretty sharp. Let me back up here. This kind of gives you an idea of the proportions. That longer wheelbase is really gonna be more like Porsche or RX-7 looking. It's not gonna be short and squatty like a Volkswagen Bug or the Miatas of old time. It should be a lot sleeker car, much more like a Jaguar or an Aston Martin kind of look to it. So that's the goal. And I'll probably end up doing a custom hardtop as well. I don't know if I'm gonna keep the soft top. That will be down the road for sure. So haven't gotten around to doctoring the fenders up. They're gonna still need a lot of adjustment. They're okay, but I'm not really too pleased with them as a final product yet. We'll work back on those, but right now got to focus on framework, wrapping up this upper subframe, or upper unibody rather, the lower subframe, and then all of the other little bits to connect all that back up. The mounts for the hood will move forward 4 inches. The fenders, their mounts, and the bumper, core support, they'll all be fabricated, but everything's gonna be forward 4 inches. It's quite a different thing. I've widened cars, but I've never stretched a wheelbase before, so this is new to me as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing the way this handles. I think it'll be a little bit more stable in a straight line under power. It won't be so squirrely. Not that it was with its underpowered 4-cylinder to begin with, but with that V8 and the twin turbos spooling up, I'm sure it's gonna be quite the handful. So that's on the docket. And then uprights. Currently just have the factory uprights modified with the 5 lugs still in there. Uprights, we're gonna be making some new ones on the CNC machine and probably modifying the subframe further in case we wanna throw some axles in there and give it some all-wheel drive, which that'll be in another episode. We'll be talking about that system that's gonna be putting together. Once we have all the frame positioning dialed in and the mounting for the motor, then I'll start working on the all-wheel drive system, clearing the differential, oil pan, all of that. So keep posted. If you like this, hit the like button, subscribe for more episodes. I promise I'm not gonna take so many months. I don't have to build another shop over here. So hopefully, the updates will come a lot faster. We'll get this thing in paint and, see what it looks like on the ground, at least as a roller. And got some adjustable coilovers here. Let me open this box up too. No, not good enough for the old ones. However, a nice set of Zetas. These are a nice threaded adjustable coilover. These will be running on the Mazda for now. So we should be able to get the position, wheel fitment, and spacing of the fenders and everything just right with those coilovers. But like and subscribe for the next episode. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.